So let me bring on Instagram and hopefully you all can hear me and see me okay. Good morning, Instagram. You guys are on. Everybody's online. We have Instagram and YouTube. Today we're going to talk about COVID news, but most specifically, and I feel like most importantly, I'm going to go over 5 of the most common myths and you could say lies or untruths or just misinformation regarding this virus. I think this is really critical because we're at a point where there's going to be a lot of misinformation and a lot of confusion. And so I want to clear that up as a naturopathic physician. You guys know I've been hosting live shows since the beginning of this pandemic, since the 13th or 14th of March, and I've been immersed in information and data and science. And so I've been following all of this. And there are really a lot of misconceptions, misinformation, and information that I feel is critical for you all to have better understanding and awareness. So that is what we will talk about this morning. We did have a power outage here. I'm hoping we're okay. I heard reports that YouTube was down, the servers were down. So I don't know what is happening, but we're just going to trudge through. So if for whatever reason, either Instagram or YouTube goes haywire, the other one I'll continue as long as I can with this information. But if you are new and joining us for the first time, my name is Dr. Melissa Gallagher. I'm a naturopathic physician. My focus is functional medicine and utilizing natural techniques and resources, herbs, homeopathy, lifestyle diet, nourishing and balancing the body to support health and wellness. And I've been talking a lot about how we bolster and enhance, modulate, and regulate our immune system. And that is something that I will continue to talk about even after COVID clears and we get back to some sort of after COVID life normalcy. But today, I really want to dig into just where we are globally, and then we'll talk more about the vaccines because that is a major point of news information. So, are you guys ready? I'm excited. The news is just really crazy, but globally, the world is at 72 million total cases of coronavirus. The US has 16.36 million cases. Our numbers are insane. In the last week, since we had our last Monday, so December 7th, our live show, since then we posted 1.5 million new cases. And I will share with you why that's kind of crazy and how that impacts the availability of vaccines, because there's a direct correlation between testing and vaccine shortages. So that's just kind of some interesting news that we'll dig into. Okay, so globally, Sweden, the Swedish community, Swedish hospitals are reaching capacity. They have identified that they are in need of help, and actually countries that border and are close to Sweden are taking on some of the patient load there. And I just want to kind of call to everybody's attention. In the spring, it was talked, there's a lot of discussion about herd immunity and how Sweden was doing it really well. Well, that's just completely debunked with the state of the Swedish outbreak. And they are having really intense, severe cases that are in need of a lot of therapeutic care and have long-term stays in hospitals and ICUs. I see we've got somebody from Scotland. Hey, Elizabeth. Yay, Brooklyn, JP So. So I have to tell you guys, I am using my mini iPad for YouTube, and so I don't always see all the comments. So if I miss your communication, like Margaret, keep sending them up and communicate amongst yourselves. The live chats are on YouTube and Instagram. You guys can have the badges. The badges is mobilized, so feel free to invest in our live show if you so choose with a badge. Okay, so more news internationally. Singapore is looking at approving, let's see, they have approved. Okay, so Singapore has approved the Pfizer vaccine. A lot of countries are in that same process that we were in last week with the approval. The big news is that Friday, the FDA granted emergency use authorization. Now, that is a special classification to roll out the vaccine. The CDC also had an independent body review that, and they've identified that was approved on Saturday. The CDC has approved 16 and older, this advisory panel. So we're seeing this also rolling out in other countries. For instance, Canada is rolling out the vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine this week. And they will start in Ontario, and it looks like those shots will start getting into individuals' arms on Tuesday, so tomorrow. Canada secured 20 million vaccines with an option to add 56 more million to their schedule. And when we say doses, that is double, that's including the double. So for 20 million doses, that includes the first dose, and then so many days later, I think it's 14 days, or 20, I think it's 21 days. The second dose is in effect. So 20 million actually equals 40 million individual vials. Okay, so Singapore is on board with that. South Korea, they have shut down schools. They've been in quite a bit of kind of quarantining mode since November, but they have now since really clamped down. They have the worst outbreaks South Korea has experienced since the spring. Chile is awaiting Pfizer approval, and they're expecting that will be granted this week in that country. And then in Europe, Poland is on their third significant wave. They're identifying that Poland has a massive outbreak, and we'll probably be seeing a little bit more about some of the measures that they're taking. I see Pat. Hey, Pat. She's on Instagram. Yay. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on here in the U.S. Yesterday, the numbers from yesterday's day were a lot less than we've seen. We had 146,000 new positive cases and 863 fatalities. That's down from the near 3,000 fatalities from the day or two before. And then also, we were at 220, 230,000 new cases. Sometimes Sundays are weird days where they don't always report fully. Sometimes batches are kind of sent in. So it is something where the running average, we're averaging over 200,000 new cases a day, and we're averaging over 2,000 fatalities a day when it all works out in like a 7-day span. We have some new news out of the Health and Human Services. HHS is the group that, I believe it was in the summertime, they took over all the reporting from the CDC. This work around the CDC is very politicized, but HHS has had a lot of pressure put on them because the data that they've been reporting about hospitalizations and other details has not been completely accurate. That has been highlighted by Scientific Magazine and a ton of researchers and scientists. But this weekend, they now are producing publicly data that allows us and medical providers to be able to see in an area. So you can search by zip code, you can search by area. You can identify what hospitals in your area have space and which do not. Now, this is really critical in the healthcare space. Administrators, nurse managers, folks that are transferring out patients, before they didn't know what the neighboring hospital situation was like. And so having to get on the phone is taking time. Now they can go online and access this information. Granted, we do know that the information is not entirely accurate. It was misreported and underreported. But it gives, they can identify areas where ICU beds are open and possible transfer opportunities. We're also seeing hospitals transferring out patients that don't fit COVID. They don't have COVID diagnoses, but they're in the hospital for a stroke or, I don't want to say mundane, but normal hospitalization issues. They are transferring some of those folks out. A lot of rural hospitals are in dire straits, and sometimes they're an hour or two away from they're away from an hour, 90 minutes from the medical hospital, the main, teaching facility, and they don't know even if they can transfer them out. So this is a positive. Information is power and knowledge, and it allows folks to plan accordingly. So that's really big news. I don't know if I said this, but 1 in 8 hospitals has ICUs that are full or beyond capacity. Um, and I think we need to probably, I don't know, Pat, if you're moderating, but we'll have to really moderate closely. I am not going to allow misinformation on my YouTube channel in the comments and the live chat. Unfortunately, I will actively be reporting you. We have to really be cognizant and cautious of a lot of the nonsense and the BS that is out there. And so that's why today's show, I'm going to debunk a lot of the BS. So if you don't like it, there are platforms where you can sound off, but the reality is that spreading misinformation now is deadly. And we take oaths to do no harm, and part of that is to educate and to educate people so that they do no harm to each other. Okay, so that was my little soapbox that I want to highlight. I'm seeing some nonsense coming through. Okay, so news as far as some of the cities that are states that are really growing. California, Sunday they posted 35.7 thousand new cases. That has incrementally stayed in the 30,000 plus. They had set a record last week at 30, and now they're at 35,000. Thanks, Pat. New York is at 10,000, kind of averaging on a day. Ohio is close to 10,000. They've been averaging high 9,000, 10,000 new cases. This is really crazy. Rural hospitals are extremely overwhelmed. One of the reports that I saw over the weekend is that one hospital system, 2 or 3 hospitals within the system, in one of their hospitals, there were 150 staff members that had COVID all at the same time. Out of the 150, 70 nurses had COVID at the same time. Now, when you think about that, on average, folks might have, mild symptoms. Some might be asymptomatic, some might be mild, but they're going to be in those 70 nurses that are going to have moderate and severe severe symptoms, and that they can't work. When you have fever, you can't work through that. I mean, anybody who's had, a severe cold or even the flu, you have to rest, and you need to allow your body to rest. And the major issue right now in hospitals are the staffing situation. You can, garner supplies, but you can't always get staff, especially trained staff in ICU. So that's one big thing I wanted to highlight. The other thing that I want to highlight is that staffing shortages, kind of a staffing war, the elevation of pricing from staffing companies. And this is really big: nurse staffing, allied health staffing. There are all different types of staffing companies. They tend to make their money in these situations, and that is overwhelming the hospitals in terms of budget as well. California, I do want to highlight, they had an increase in the last week. Their hospitalization increased by 70%. That's insane. Okay, there is, just to kind of let everybody know, there is an international there's a lot of information. Let's see. There's a lot of information about the vaccine situation. So we are seeing a lot of wealthier countries lining up and securing doses even before they've been produced. In ways where it's a gluttonous type of situation. Part of it is we didn't know, we didn't know who in all the vaccine, the vaccine race, who would secure the approval. So a lot of countries just hedge their bets and put a ton of orders in. And we're seeing the net result here in the U.S. We didn't do that, but Canada, for instance, has 5 to 6 times the dosage needed. So each person, they've secured 5 to 6 times over the amount of vaccine that is needed, and that right now will cover them, as some of these players are not going to have vaccine that hits the market. And so that played out well. However, one of the things that they're seeing is that countries that don't have the financing, and there was, in many cases, countries who house the research and the clinical information, companies here in the universities, they had to finance the research. So that's a monetary element, and then down payments on the vaccines and whatnot. Some non-globalized countries are going to have, there's going to be a wealth gap, and that has been communicated, and is being monitored. There's a group called COVAX, COVAX. It's an international compact, and it is something that we'll probably hear a little bit more about. But that's really, it's very interesting that, there's this vaccine war. Christian Vibes, just send us a message, please. Okay. So now the big thing over the weekend, the FDA authorized Pfizer. So the particular warrant, if you will, the approval is for emergency use. This qualifies very differently than normal on the market. And with that, there are a lot of things that are going to continue to be studied, to continue to be analyzed, continue to be produced data and information. And with the CDC rolling out age group 16 and older, we might see some teenagers and high schoolers getting vaccinated. So that is something to be aware of. Now, the CDC advisory panel, there were 14 on the panel, 11 approved it, 11 approved, 3 abstained because they had some conflict, either conflict of interest financially, maybe they were with the university that was part of the research. I don't know the logistics, but nobody voted against it. Okay, so that is one thing. The other information I want to highlight just here domestically, the Navajo Nation is, and that's one of our native tribe communities, they are going to be getting doses this week. They've been hit heavily in some of the western mountain, like Arizona and Wyoming, those communities have been hit really hard. So they're going to be getting vaccine this week. And then there are some challenges to the distribution of the vaccine. So I want to highlight this because this is something I have not come across until recently in the last 4 days as I've been researching this more. But one of the things that is happening is as our numbers here in the US go up and we have millions daily being tested for COVID, there is a requirement to have certain reactive chemical agents in the testing. Well, that same reactive agent is needed for the manufacturing of the pharmaceutical. So, not pharmaceutical, but the vaccine, the mRNA. So when we have a massive quantity of people testing and using this finite amount or quantity of reactive agent, that takes away from the ingredients necessary to manufacture the vaccine. I hope that makes sense because that was a big boom aha moment in terms of why I couldn't understand when I was digging into how Pfizer and even Moderna, they're all in the same boat, especially in this, the mRNA boat, that they were saying we can deliver 100 million doses in 2 weeks. And then it started to taper down and they started to recalibrate and start to set our expectations. Well, that makes sense now because as they were gearing up to the FDA emergency use authorization, as they're gearing up, the numbers of cases were inclining. And so the number of individuals increasing was great. And the supply, the materials were being used for testing and were not able to be part of the vaccine process. So that's really important. And thanks, Pat, for moderating. Again, we're going to have a lot of spammers and we're going to have a lot of people who just are misinformed. And when it comes to this vaccine, education is critical. And my onus to each and every one of you is to give you information so you can make a decision. But it needs to be informed, it needs to be scientifically backed, it needs to be founded in data that is legitimate and not emotions, not anything other than how we normally treat medicine. And this is really of the utmost. And it is really irksome to me when we have people on here who think that natural health resources is woo woo and anti science. That is not my background. It's not how I was trained. I actually went to medical school, natural medical school. That doesn't mean I went to some forest and learned about herbology and the stars. That just is not how we are trained. And any folks that are in this category that promote something other than science. Okay, YouTube's buffering. Okay. Oh, thanks. Oh, Michelle, badges. Thank you, thank you. I think I got some more badges. You guys are so sweet. Buffer. From what I heard on the as from fellow YouTubers that were like, YouTube's down, it's broken today. I'm like, oh my God. Especially with today's topic at that of all days. But at any rate, what you're going to get from me might not be things that you want to hear. Okay, I'm going to be completely honest with you. You're probably not going to hear a lot of this from other folks that are, health coaches and, expert moms. This is backed by information. And, I'm very diligent about what I deliver to you with this show, with the information about the coronavirus, with the information on all different topics I talk about. I mean, I think all of you know who follow me. I really uphold my reputation of factually based, scientifically based, information based, truthful information. And what you want to do with it is up to you. I'm not going to sit up here and tell people what they need to do, but I will give you information so you can make an educated decision and choice. And that's all I want to do. Oh, Instagram is matching badges. Oh, right. Curly Colas. Thank you. I'm not sure what that means, but I really appreciate that. Instagram is really trying to promote that. So thank you, Michelle, and Curly Coils. I appreciate that. Okay, so to some of the issues with the vaccine. The big I am very concerned that we're all going to say, well, the vaccine is coming, and so I don't have to stay socially distant. I could see my family. I don't have to wear a mask. I don't have to be so diligent on washing my hands and being cognizant of interactions with people. That I'm very concerned about because the vaccine is not the end all be all, and it's also not in the quantity that we really need to have to reach the level where we stamp out this virus. They are calling today, or really this whole week, but as soon as these get in the arms of folks here in the US, they're calling it COVID D-Day. And it's very similar to D-Day in our history of the wars. World War I, World War II. World War II, D-Day was the beginning, but it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the end. And so that is something that we have to really kind of set our expectations of. We still have to be diligent and we still have to take care. And then we also need to know that the people who were now designating who will receive the vaccine first and foremost, we don't right now have enough for them. We don't have enough for frontline workers, the healthcare staff, the doctors, the clinicians, people checking people in, ICU nurses, all of those folks that are frontline, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and then the residents, the patients who need it, we don't have enough. And so, does that protect us? Broader scope? No, it really doesn't do a lot. So we need to continue to stay diligent, friends. Okay. So if you like this information, please give me a thumbs up. That at least communicates to me you're on the same page as I am, or at least open to learning information and open-minded to hearing about the news and status of this vaccine. Okay. So now, okay. So two problems. One, manufacturing and distribution. Distribution wise, American Airlines, United Airlines, they have been running trials of transporting the vaccine. As far as everything kicked off, Saturday morning, Pfizer was moving the medicine, the vials of mRNA out of their Michigan plant. They also have a Belgium location, and I had highlighted 3 weeks ago, United Air was doing trials to see how well they did. So that's the manufacturing, having the base level supplies, the reactive agents to make this is problematic. And then just the working out the details of the distribution, mobility. There, I even have read yet last night read reports about how does the mobilization of this vaccine affect our mailing process. Like, how does it affect holiday gifts that you're sending to your friends and family that you can't see? Like, I have a ton I have to get out today. And they're saying that that might cause delays. And so, one of the things that we need to be aware of is that challenges in the transportation, air transport, we have a lot of connections, connecting flights that are no longer happening. Air travel is down. So, we are based here north of Atlanta. From our home to the door, a gate at the airport. It's an hour-long drive for us to get there. And then if we want to go somewhere, there would usually be a connection, possibly if we don't go to a big hub. Well, a lot of those connections have been canceled. So if you are Pfizer and you are a rural medical hospital and trying to distribute this medicine, it might not be coming on an airplane. It might be coming on a truck, and that might take a little bit of time. So there's a lot to this distribution process that could be problematic, that could be susceptible to breaking down. And then the other thing is that compliance, are folks going to be open and lining up to take the vaccine? Curly, yes, I am going to answer those questions, and I am going to debunk that question you have, because it's not true. And it is an exciting point when we look at technology and the movement of science and medicine, moving forward to helping heal our bodies. And this involves, information about our genome, our gut health. It involves information as we learn more about our stem cells and the amazing power of that, the potency. Same thing with this vaccine. I do want to highlight, I will be watching it tonight. I'm curious to see it. There is a special on 2020 tonight. It's on the 14th. So DVR it or watch it live, but they're going to be digging more into the development. This is fascinating. There are two women, a female at Moderna, 35-year-old female at Moderna, and then I think she might be in her 40s, but this amazing black woman with Pfizer have been the core leaders behind this technology, rolling these out. And Moderna is based in just outside of Boston. Pretty obscure, not a forefront company, not at the forefront, but they moved into it very quickly in January and February. So there's a lot of information I want to sort through. Today's show, I just want to deal with 5 myths, misinformation, non-truths that are floating out there. And if you see them, they deserve to be flagged. They deserve to, and this is not about censorship. This is literally their lies, and they could endanger the lives of people. Okay, so let's dig into this. So I want to highlight 5 vaccine lies that I'm going to debunk. 5 myths about the vaccine that are not true. Okay. Before we dig into these 5, I would just want to highlight what this is. Okay, so Pfizer specifically. Pfizer and Moderna. It's a vaccine that is called an mRNA. M, little m, big capital R, big capital N, big capital A. mRNA. M is a critical piece that we need to understand here. M means messenger. M is not something that has been the messenger part of the RNA literally delivers a message. Okay, so it delivers information to our cells specifically to manufacture a protein that is basically like the spike protein of coronavirus. Okay, so that is all it is. It is like a carrier pigeon. So, the old days, it's like the text message, cellular text message, an email, if you will. It is delivering information. And with that information, it is telling it, it's like, computer coding. It's telling it, make this protein. Because this particular protein is like the spike protein on the coronavirus. Okay, so that is what mRNA means. Okay, it is not it is not what a lot of people are thinking. And so I want to be really clear what this is. mRNA basically teaches cells in your body to make a protein, very particular type of protein, that is just like the coronavirus protein. You know, the little, it's got spikes. I wish they actually have plushes. I need to get one. But, you know, the virus is round. I've been talking about the spike, and the spike is what implants the viral RNA. And that is what the message, you know, the communication from the virus when it implants into your mucous membrane is to make more of itself. Well, this mRNA tells the cells in your body to manufacture a protein that mimics. It's a mimicry, okay? It's a trickery, if you will, of the immune response. And it tells it to make this protein that then tricks your immune system to create antibodies, to see this protein it develops, to go and basically have your immune system respond to this protein like it is a coronavirus. It is not. So let's deal with number one. Is this vaccine a part of the virus? So is this vaccine going to deliver you any part of is it a live, active virus? No. This vaccine does not contain a live SARS-CoV-2. Okay, so that is the scientific name. There is no part of the virus in it. It's not any part of the virus. Okay, so it's not implanting a virus in your body. Okay, that's not what this is. That's why we call it mRNA. It's a message. It's a communication code to your body to produce a protein. So we're literally telling your body to create a protein so that the immune system thinks that this protein is the coronavirus pathogen and then develops antibodies. So when you do come into contact with the real virus, that your immune system already has the coding and the antibody and the response. It now becomes no longer novel. That's how this works, okay? Your DNA. Okay, so this is really, really important. And this is where I've seen off the charts nonsense, okay? The vaccine does not alter your DNA. It does not enter the cell nucleus. What the mRNA does is it goes into your body and it tells the body's synthesis. It basically tells the body to create a protein. And that protein comes from other compounds, other elements. But it is not something that gets into the heart of your cell. It does not penetrate that at all. But it does have a production of a protein. So we do see some engagement of your cellular process where we have the net result are these proteins. Okay, so that's number one. Within that, a lot of people have said you're going to have a barcode. You're going to be labeled. You can be scanned now. You're going to be neon. Nonsense. Okay, this messenger RNA is simply telling your cells to make a protein. That's it. That's all it does. It's not implanting anything that stays within your body. Literally, the mRNA does not integrate with the recipient's genome. What your genome means, that's your DNA. There's no part of your DNA strand, okay, that is impacted by this. So there's no sort of DNA impact. What does happen is when you get the mRNA and your body starts to build these proteins, the cells break down. They break down as soon as they get the instructions. So the mRNA goes in, it drops a message, and then it dissipates. And that message then is the production of proteins that allows your body to make an immune response. And the immune response is specifically to a protein that is like the protein spikes on the virus. That is it. Okay, so, you know, I'm simplifying this, okay? You know, there's a lot of really technical, scientific, biochemical stuff here, okay? But I'm simplifying it so that we can understand it in a way that it's clear. Okay. I hope that makes sense. The vaccine is not an active live virus. There's no part of SARS-CoV-2 in it. It does not invade your nucleus, the cell nucleus. It doesn't do that. It literally goes in and says, make this protein. And then your body starts to make the protein. As soon as your body starts to make that protein, that mRNA, it's gone. It dissipates. It's meant to combust, basically. So it goes in, delivers the message, and then it's self-deleting. I hope that makes sense. So those are two big myths. The other one that I've seen floating around is just absolute craziness. Is people have said that the virus or the vaccine is made from fetal tissue. That is non-existent in this. The mRNA, there's no fetal tissue used. Now, if you want to get into where fetal tissue is, the remdesivir, the monoclonal antibodies, the cocktail that the president. Okay, so this is really critical. So that we're debunked that. The other thing that I've seen, especially as we were leading up to the Thursday meeting of the what is it called? I have my notes here. I'm actually on my last page of this. The meeting on Thursday was the BPAC efficacy results were faked. What happened is initially the company started to produce information as they were getting through the different trial phases. They just put out like a press release, nothing scientific. It wasn't being published by New England Medical Journal, the New England Journal of New England Medical Journal. It wasn't being produced there. It wasn't being produced in any of the journals, but they would kind of highlight, like, here's a snapshot of where we're at the trial. We've got 30,000, there's 40,000. These are the things that we're seeing. So going into this information publicly, we started to hear that there was a 90% efficacy. Then last week, there was an initial report Tuesday or Wednesday it hit, and it came from the FDA scientists and individuals looking into all of the data. So, when a company goes through an FDA emergency use authorization, which is very rare, I've had a lot this year, they have to produce all this data. And so these folks went through it, and basically what they identified is that the efficacy was actually higher than what the company was reporting. In some cases, it had a range, 94, 96%. And when we're talking about vaccines, that's phenomenal. Like a flu vaccine is a joke. It's like 20 to 30%, if that. But this is totally different. This is high efficacy. But we live in a world where it's quick to call fake news and fake information and, mainstream media and all this BS. But basically, people have said that the efficacy was faked. That is completely false. So what was communicated was totally clear. If anything, the company did not communicate on the higher degree just how effective it was. And what they did find is that within 10 days of the first dose, the efficacy was 50%. Within the second dose, they then started to see upwards of 96% efficacy. So that is huge. Michelle says, hopefully we'll touch on why some have got reactions from vaccines. So actually only two people in the UK. So just want to highlight, it's not a lot, but it's made to seem like a lot of people have an allergic reaction. And that is one thing the CDC did say, that if you have any history of an allergic reaction with a vaccine or an infusion, and that could be antibody infusion, plasma, platelet, all of that, then you want to refrain. I know there are going to be categories, so really more specific stuff. We even saw some things with folks in the lymphatic world, and I'm waiting for guidance from some of my my advisory bodies in that category. But just to kind of go over all of that, the efficacy is on point, and they did highlight that did have some sort of minor reaction. Most of the time the reaction was pain at the site, and maybe a little bit of a fever. Now this is why we see some reactions, okay, and this also plays into your individual microbiome, your individual immune response. And I've been getting a lot of questions from individuals, right? I think Thursday or Friday from be like such a severe reaction. Well, a lot of that's our immune response. And so when people start to notice that they are having a fever and they drop a message, and your body is the body of these folks who've received it, that's actually starting to create this protein. The protein is what mirrors the coronavirus spike. And that's the beginning of the antibody. And everybody's going to have a different immune reaction because everybody has a different immune reaction. And there's more, they're trying to figure out why that is the case. And I don't know if those folks already have some autoimmune issues or have immune response, but we have folks that have immune deficiencies. We have aspects. So weak immune, overactive immune, and a hyperimmune state. You know, those three categories of folks sometimes are missed entirely by the medical community as far as getting diagnosed. And that's a lot of you who watch me regularly. You understand that you feel like your immune system is not functioning properly. I do have a webinar. I'm going to host a live webinar. It'll obviously be off platform, and we'll dig way more into all of this stuff, and I can answer a ton of questions. But, you know, is the question of who should get in and who shouldn't. Right now, we don't have that option. I mean, let's just be realistic. We don't have enough vaccine for our frontline workers. We don't have enough for our nursing home patients and folks in those facilities. So the freak out right now, I understand, but it's a waste of your energy right now. Okay, you should though start talking to your clinicians, start talking to your doctors. We also, the good news about this, the only highlight in the delay of getting vaccine distribution, we also still have more time that we will get. Pfizer is going to continue to be running information. We're going to have 6 months. We're going to have 9 months. We're going to have 12 months by this, time of summer, where they'll have a better snapshot of who does better with it, and what reactions, what categories of folks maybe should avoid it, and which ones are going to be fine with it. So I want to put your minds at ease that time gives us more information and knowledge gives us a lot of power and information to that point, so we can learn more. But my last and final is the last one that's really disturbing is that there is a global conspiracy of health professionals, doctors, clinicians, hospitals, research institutions that are globally conspiring to, I don't know what, try and save people's lives. There's this weird, massive global conspiracy that I don't understand it. I don't know where that has originated, but that just doesn't exist. And for the folks I've seen commenting on some of my videos recently, have been, people have said, "Oh, I'm profiting from this." I have all these ads on YouTube, and YouTube's paying me to talk to you about this. That I can tell you is far from the truth. I don't at all profit off of YouTube ads, which is comical to me. But the reality is that there's a lot of us that go into this space because we want to heal ourselves, and we want to help heal others, and we want to communicate different methods and approaches to do that. I will not stay away from highlighting information and factual, scientifically proven, natural ways to support your system, to bolster your body, keep you healthy, and to help your immune response balance, modulate, and regulate itself. That being said, though, we also cannot ignore the science and the movement of technology in ways that are helpful and healing. So that is where we need to push forward. We need to move the paradigm shift. And we have to really understand what's going on. And so I know that there are a lot of folks that are not equipped with information and knowledge about this new technology. Messenger RNA is a whole new, it's newer. Okay, it's been studied. We've seen this studied on, in the last decade on different outbreaks. This is not new to the science world. It's isolated because it's a specialization. It's not new in that world, but it's new to us outside of the world that are used to, your everyday like flu vaccine, or folks aren't getting that and, just want to support their body. We have a novel virus that our immune system has never seen before. And we have the ability to use technology and this messenger DNA, messenger RNA, to tell our body to create these. It's basically creating a fake pathogen of this protein, creates this fake live virus in the vaccine. The virus this vaccine does not invade the nucleus, the cell nucleus. It does not get in and change your DNA. It doesn't alter your DNA. There's no coding or imprinting. The coding that exists in our mRNA is like the message. It's the protein development message. It says, make this particular type of protein. It's a very specialized protein. It's what allows the body to think that the protein is in fact a COVID spike, and that is how this vaccine works. I hope this has been helpful. I'm hoping that a lot of you will spread the information. It really is critical we educate people. So I want to tap all of you. Hopefully this is clear. I'll continue to highlight these facts. But it is something that needs to be communicated. When we hear misinformation and false truths, I mean, they're falsehoods. We need to debunk them, and we need to do it collectively, because this is where technology is really critical. So, and Reggie, I understand where people are coming from, big pharma, big agriculture. Yes, they do. But the reality is we have amazing scientific research. We are not moving backwards, friends. I mean, we all use, like, I have my cell phone and I have my mini iPad set up, and I am working on Wi-Fi to communicate this information to you. That's technology. I couldn't do that 20, 30 years ago. We are moving forward. We use technology in our lives every day. We use medical technology every day. If you have any implant, any metal in your body, if you have a joint replacement, if you've had back surgery, you've had ligament surgery, you've had an organ glandular removal, you're using technology that's moving forward. And I think it's really important that you not, this is where I'll get on my soapbox. My recommendation is to be open-minded and to not closed off to facts and information and these advancements because it meets an agenda or a philosophy that is unfounded. So that's my communication for everybody. Curly Coils says it's helpful. Michelle, yes, we need a platform for truth. Absolutely. Clive, you're welcome. Science has not been nice to, it's been god awful to our fellow Black and color of people, where we use slaves and experimented on their bodies. And military, we've had people injected with things because the military owned their body. I understand all of that skepticism. Okay, so Jen asks, is there anything we can take before getting the vaccine that would be protective if you have autoimmune issues? So yes, I mean, I talk a lot about immune bolstering, and in fact, today, I'm so glad, this is so great. Today, I'm going live again with my friends over at Sovereign Labs on their Facebook page. We're going to talk about immune modulation and immune regulation. That is at the core of what we need for our friends that have autoimmune states. If you've got viral infections, viral invasions, any of those that you might be dealing with, Epstein-Barr, maybe you've got, herpes or shingles, poxvirus, impacts cellularly in the mitochondria of your system. That is the other thing too, is we don't know to the degree of the vaccine how functional and how effective it will be in your body if your immune system is not at its its most optimized state. And so the goal is to optimize your immune state and optimize is not boost. Some of you do not need boosting. You need a modulator. You need to bring it down and keep it balanced. And the balance is most critical. So colostrum therapy is one. Talk about astragalus and some of the other, moringa is another good one. And there's, again, I go with my clinical research. I go with what I know has been clinically proven, and is factually based. And so we're going to talk about that over on Sovereign Labs on their Facebook page today. Eastern time, or 1:30 Eastern time. I'll post on YouTube on the community tab. Okay, research. I'd say yes to do your own research, but go to the places that are valid. So go to the research sites. If anything, avoid reading memes. Memes and blogs are not going to be your most helpful information. Consider your sources. Critical thinking skills need to be utilized, okay? T cells, we have T cells, we have B cells, we have N cells, we have a certain amount of, we have an assortment of immune cells. Some of the things that we see, the T cells, we have memory cells that help respond to viral exposure from the past, or a pathogenic exposure. So the memory is really critical. That's where this mRNA will help trigger some of the T cell response. That's where we see antibody development. It's like muscle memory, but it's immune memory, if that makes sense. So you're just bolstering your immune memory every time you get exposed to a pathogen. And as long as your immune system is reactive and responsive in an optimized way, that's where, with the mRNA and the specific message to produce a particular protein, that protein spike on the coronavirus, that then helps support that T response. Okay, so you're welcome for the clarification. We've deleted a lot of people. Thanks for Pat whack trolling. Let's give Pat a big round of appreciation. Let's see. Curly Coil said, I went to Aldi over the weekend and bought a plush robe. Yay! Oh my gosh, take a picture and DM me. Oh, I love so I'm not allowed to buy anymore. But literally, this robe is really nice. My robe from 2 years ago, the hoodie, and got like the kind of really warm inside line. Glacier Dawn says, what about Bell's palsy? It's I think what will have to happen is, if you've got any significant immune exposure from the past or whatnot, you're going to need to talk with your clinicians. You're going to need to have very specific conversations with your rheumatologists, the specialists. They're going to also be monitoring within their clinical practice individuals who've gotten exposed, like Brian's hematologist oncologist. We've got a call that's going to be coming up. We're going to talk to her about what they're seeing with the vaccine and the ITP patients. That's never a good idea to get any type of vaccine or to overwhelm your immune state. So work towards balancing your immune system so that it can be optimized. And I do hear questions of how to get ourselves protected, and I will address that in future content. Let's see, gut health people, absolutely, gut health is everything. Colds can come from the coronavirus. Okay, so Carol says, I want to ask about the possibility of pathogenic priming or anything notated, but I don't. Okay. And I have to tell you guys, I'm not a virologist. That's not my area of expertise. I'm not, infectious disease or not. That's not my forte. But I know how to read clinical research, and I dig in and research and communicate it in ways that it's easily digestible. I definitely know to see that. Salvage Goods Easton, would you mind sharing after your call with the doctor about ITP? Yes, absolutely. That's fine. Yeah, I'm so glad we have a different doctor. The previous doctor Brian had, oh my God, they had him doing infusions all the time. and steroids. It was awful. And again, that's also the other thing too is getting the right clinicians to work with. And she's like us. She does research. I love that. Jeanette, good morning. I remember being given the polio vaccine and saved many lives through the efforts of ordinary people collecting for the March of Dimes. Yeah. Um, I'm just looking at comments. Let's see. Claire says enlarged benign thymus and thyroid nodules. Nodules on the thyroid and benign, benign nodules, I don't see that being problematic. But again, that's something we need to. Oh, Daisy wants to say hello. You want to say hello? Oh, you guys, poor Daisy. So many of you might have missed some of my news. Daisy during her little and has a diagonal puncture on her side. You can't see it. I know, puppy. She's like the side along her rib cage. She has 3 staples. And it's looking really inflamed. I've been giving her. We have a classroom for pets. Sovereign Labs has that, so I've been giving her that, and she's been getting lots of love. But we are so lucky to have a great vet. Got us in first thing on Saturday. Okay, so info on fibromyalgia as far as we have we're adding 2 more like little itty bitty Gabriel, and so that's a whole nother thing. I'll have to share. But Daisy, yeah. So Daisy's recovering, cone and staples. But the diet, like you never know, something's wrong with her. She's like a bullet. Okay, yeah. So yeah, there was like a stick or something poking out from one of our trees. Could have been in my rose bushes. She's somehow snuck into my garden. Who knows? But it was pretty bad. So we discovered it late Friday and took her in first thing in the morning. And so she's on meds, pain meds, and it is puffy. I don't like that it's puffy. Okay, YouTube is buffering a lot. I apologize. I'm shocked we're on today. Okay, so this was my news for you today. I really wanted to dig into a lot of the misinformation. I do want to give you even further information. So definitely, follow along. I will be coordinating a webinar soon. And I just want to make sure that all of you get the information so that you can be informed. And, the more people are educated, I feel like the more people are going to make smart decisions for them and their families. Now, that being said, do know we have a distribution challenge and we have a materials issue. So, even if you do say, okay, I'm going to, go for the vaccine, it's not potentially going to be available to you until late summer, early fall next year. I mean, that's realistic. So, but either way, we need to be smart. We need to be, taking all the safety measures and, supporting our immune system. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. For those who don't agree or, continue to want to spew false information, just so I am not tolerating any of that, particularly in this vein, on my channel. And so we might get blocked. We might be deleted. Because we need to control the fake narrative, and it is deadly. Spewing false information for whatever reason. I don't know the mode. The modus operandi. I don't know the motivation in doing so, but there are a lot of people who don't know a whole lot of they don't know anything, and yet they're running around like they do, and they have influence, and that is problematic. And so the one thing you can be guaranteed here is you are not going to get. Always am transparent. If it comes to a point where I'm able to get the vaccine, sure, I'll go live and do it, if that's allowed. I'm not famous like some of these other people. So I don't think that, it all depends on HIPAA rules in those settings. But yeah, I'm not going to not be transparent with you. But again, information is critical, and the data, the research. Buddy on Instagram for the badges, Curly Quails and Michelle. I really excited that Instagram's matching that. So that's awesome. That supports my channel here. So that keeps offering way more comprehensive. They're not going to get all the information I think you guys need to know in one live show every Monday and Friday for our live show. And my YouTube channel has now almost 700 videos full of content to help you learn more about how to support your system, vitamin D being one of them. And I have highlighted a lot of other great things. So think you will not be angry at that. I'm not quite sure why we're this way. But my friends, happy holidays for all of our friends in Hanukkah. I hope everybody's having a great Hanukkah. Next week, so we go into winter solstice on the 21st. And so I will tune in to you all on Wednesday. Expect probably an edited video coming out later today. I've got little snippets of our yeah, lots of trolls. Thanks, Freddie. They do travel in packs, but you guys are great. So I appreciate everybody. And thanks for tuning in. Let me see. I don't know how to end this on YouTube, but thanks, Instagram. I will see you guys later. Bye. Okay, so let me just download and I'm going to share. Okay, everybody. You know what? Before I go off, I'm going to share with you. I have to share with you. Oops. You know what? Let me take my mic off. I don't even know why I was wearing a mic. Okay, so I'm going to share with you my healthy tree. So how cute is this? These are all my healthy ornaments. This is my natural resource tree. You see that? A little pepper and an avocado and red peppers. Some more stuff over here. Strawberries. And there's a carrot. So that's my little tree. I haven't gotten any new ones this year, but see what I can get online. I usually add one or two a year. So thanks for tuning in. As you can see, I'm working off my little mini iPad. And Wednesday, hopefully, our YouTube connection will be better. I don't know if it was us and our power outage, but yeah. So I love the tree. It's so fun. And look, the orchid. Brian gave me an orchid. He's so sweet. So yeah, so my tree, super cute, and trying to promote healthy as much as we can. You guys, stay safe, stay well. Comment on the video down below. I am picking winners for our 2020 ornament giveaway. So I appreciate your day. I appreciate your time. And I hope you guys all have a good day. Bye, everybody.